What is a fun fact that is mildly disturbing? Some snails, and flatworms, can be both male and female before mating. They have spiked protrusions and stab at each other, and whoever gets stabbed the deepest carries the kids. It's called penis jousting, also penis fencing. There was a series of movies during the 1980s called the guinea pig films that were so gory that the director of the movies was actually investigated by the cops and had to show how he did the effects. Dolphins use dead fish as pocket pussies. Okay, what the fuck? Pornhub is owned by MindGeek, a Canadian company that owns virtually every major porn site. They own free, paid, and even sites that pirate porn videos from the paid sites. 'Cause porn is such a lowly regulated industry, no one is going to get elected from "Hey, I'ma regulate the porn industry." MindGeek owns a monopoly on internet pornography. Bunnies actually have the ability to scream, but they will only scream if they feel they are about to die. Not necessarily. My roommate's old bunny would scream to get his attention. A horrible blood-curdling scream, but he learned that when he made that sound, my roommate would come running to check on him. Mountain Dew, when first invented, was a syrup for moonshine. Pork only became popular in Spain during the Spanish Inquisition, and thus throughout South America, because during the Inquisition it was a common way people could prove they weren't Jewish or Islamic. The reason why pork is considered off-limits in Middle Eastern countries is because wild boars had a nasty habit of digging up human graves and eating the contents. So if you ate pig/boar, you had a chance of eating human remains 1 degree off. If you have a boob job, the database for implants is so well kept and readily available across the country that they can identify your body based on the serial number of your implants. D. I work at a hospital, and while this is only very loosely related, I once was in materials, and the guy there said, "Hey, help me out for a minute." I ran over, and he handed me a giant stack of boxes. You now know what it feels like to hold $50,000 worth of tits. It was a fun day. The sea cucumber will disembowel itself when it feels threatened. It will projectile vomit its digestive system to scare off a predator. And the ejector is a delicacy in Japan called konowata. In medieval times, diabetes was known as the honey sickness, and to test for it a physician would have to taste your urine. In Korean it is called, which translates to sweet urine disease. If you win it big in the lottery, you have a higher chance of both getting murdered and committing suicide. You mean after you get the money it only gets better? Male anglerfish breed by attaching itself to the bottom of the female and inserting all of its insides inside of her. Wait. At some point the punishment for attempted suicide was death. Task failed successfully. Dolphins can and will pick stuff up and move it around using their penises. Dolphins are the Florida man of the ocean. Moths will vibrate their genitals as a way to prevent bats from locating them. Joker. Where did you go? What's the matter, bats? Can't see a guy with some jiggle in his pickle? Ahoo, you'll pay for this. Edit, thanks for the everything, guys. Was originally gonna use kill a moth actually, but I suspected half the people wouldn't get it, or read it in character, then. Owl wing feathers are unique in having comb-like leading, front, edges that change the way air moves over the surface and allows for incredibly silent flight. This is why owls are able to fly right at you, or prey, without the telltale whoosh noise that you would hear if something like a hawk did the same. Butterflies engage in a behavior called mud puddling, where they seek out puddles of moisture to drink for nutrients. If a puddle of blood is the closest thing, they will puddle in it and proceed to drink the blood for its nutrients. Butterflies are vampires confirmed. Meerkats are adorable creatures. They even started in a show called Meerkat Manor. But they are, by far, the most murderous species of any animal, killing more of their own species with greater frequency than any other animal. There was a Nazi general who was hanged in the Nuremberg trials and strangled to death for 17 minutes because the noose didn't break his neck. Edit, misspelling, I have latex gloves on while using mobile. And GT, I have latex gloves on while using mobile. Don't want to leave evidence when strangling victims for 17 minutes. Another fun execution fact, if you were getting burned to death and you were lucky, your pyre would be made of wet logs. This produces lots of smoke that will make you asphyxiate before the fire burns you alive. About 30% of your poop is dead bacteria. The other 70% is corn. A walrus can suck the skin clean off of a seal. Edited to say I've added a source in the replies. So can my ex. Christopher Mintz-Plass's mom had to be on set during the filming of his attempted sex scene in Superbad because he was only 17 at the time it was being filmed. If Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin got stuck on the moon, the official policy was to cut communication and let them suffocate in silence. Nixon even had a speech prepared in case this happened. Out of the 5+ billion people on Earth today, at some point there will only be one left from today. In fact, over 100,000 of us have already died today. If you die while late into a pregnancy, the buildup of bodily gases can push the dead fetus out of your body. It's called postmortem fetal extrusion. We only have 3% of history recorded since humans reached behavioral modernity. There are people that get aroused by falling down a flight of stairs. The average amount of nicotine that's in 15 cigarettes can poison and kill 2 average 5-year-old children. Turtles can masturbate. Found Master Splinter's Reddit account. A lion's tongue is so rough it can lick your skin off. I learned this valuable piece of information from a toy in Arby's kids meal when I was younger. On a related note, in medieval times a form of torture involved a goat licking the sole of your feet. Their tongue is rough enough that it can slowly lick off your skin, and the salt used to encourage the goat to lick them only make pain worse. It's cheaper to print with human blood instead of printer ink. Edit, thanks for the shiny fake Reddit currency. Dare I say, thank you kind stranger. I suppose the reason we don't do this is because printer ink comes in yellow, cyan, and magenta, and human blood only comes in shades of red. Woodpecker's tongue wraps all the way around his skull. Interestingly, this effectively makes a woodpecker immune to concussions. So whack him in the head to your heart's content. Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs was Hitler's favorite movie. It isn't your sweat that smells, it comes from bacteria living on your body, essentially shitting stuff out after they feast on your secretions. At least I'm not the only one shitting on myself. Chimpanzees just flat out love to eat monkeys. They love it so much they've feasted on certain breeds to local extinction. Always found this mildly, moderately, disturbing because of the similarities in the species, like if wolves sought after puppies. Jeffrey Dahmer used to give his neighbors sandwiches. Cannibalism is pretty damn common in hamsters. As I understand it, only in pet hamsters. In the wild they behave dramatically differently. Maybe something to do with every pet hamster descending from a single brother-sister bear. Don't try to Google to verify that. I know I read it, but I tried to find the article by googling hamster brother-sister pair, and now I need to go be alone and think about life for a bit. There's a condition out there that when tissue get damaged, the body replaces the damaged tissue with bone instead of regenerating the organ. As the person ages, they become slowly encased in a prison of bone until they cannot move anymore, the organs inside them turn hard, and eventually they die at the age of 11. The longest reported life of someone who had this condition lived to 13. Edit, the most commonly damaged part of the body turning to bone is the muscles. The muscles fuse with pre-existing bone and lock up joints. Edit 2, due to modern medicine, the life expectancy has lengthened since I last read on it. That humans taste like pork and our diets influence it heavily. Bonus, Americans aren't a popular option because we taste too salty for most. Cannibal tribes refer to human as long pig for this reason. Also, firefighters typically don't like the smell of roast pork or crackling for this reason. A male platypus has poisonous spurs on the back of their feet that has the potential to leave you in immeasurable pain for months. Penguins will often work as prostitutes for other penguins to get stones for their nests. One of the first ever campaign against smoking was created by the Nazis. The most common form of death for people with dwarfism is a brain aneurysm, typically around the age of 40. I worry for Peter Dinklage. He's already 50, so he's doing something right. Everyone in most laugh tracks are dead. Cyanide tastes like almonds. Humans produce enough saliva in their lifetime to fill 2 swimming pools, Olympic-sized pools, or inflatable kiddie pools. Gwen Stefani will be 50 years old in less than 3 weeks. Jesus, she's just a girl. If you get bit by the wrong fly, you can get worms in your eyes. They can live up to 17 years. I time a head out. There is a clinical condition called body integrity identity disorder, BIID, where you only feel complete and healthy as a human, if one of your limbs is amputated. Everyone has Demodex, or eyelash mites, living in their eyelashes. They are microscopic and typically do not cause any issues. People may get skin problems if their Demodex population gets out of control, but that can be avoided with proper hygiene. They feed on dead skin cells, but they've apparently also started taking a liking to mascara. Edit, I stand corrected. According to another user, I apologize. If you're reading this, I don't remember your username, only about 1/5 of the population has them, but considering there's over 7 billion humans on the planet, that's still a lot of people lol. Even more fun fact, Demodex don't have buttholes. They still eat, but they can't poop, meaning they'll all die when they explode into a glorious, almost festive poop-splosion. Tumors can grow teeth, hair, eyes and miniature versions of organs. Dermoid cyst. I had one on an ovary and it had hair and teeth. I told my sister I was going to ask for it in a jar and she'd be an aunt. Male giraffes will headbutt a female in the bladder until she urinates, then it tastes the pee to helps it determine whether the female is ovulating. My GF hates when I do this. A whale's penis is 2 meters long, and ejaculates quite a large amount. Edit, and produces 400 gallons of sperm when it ejaculates, enough to fill several bathtubs. Is that why the ocean is salty? A pig orgasm lasts for half an hour. How was this even measured? When a fly lands on your food it vomits on it to prepare to eat it. When you breathe through your nose, almost all of the air goes through only one of your nostrils. The nostrils trade back and forth over time. And everyone who read this is now breathing through their nose repeatedly trying to figure this out. Your skeleton is wet. Ew, I felt sticky after reading this. The Romans used crushed mouse brains as toothpaste. What in the name of Phineas and fuck? Brain aneurysms have little to no warning, headache, and are only diagnosable by CT scan. Roughly 1 in 50 people in the US have an unruptured brain aneurysm right now that could rupture at any time. A quarter of BA cases were misdiagnosed and 75% of those were no CT scans ordered by the doctor. Enjoy your next headache. A guy I worked with a long time ago had a wife who passed a few weeks before I started there. He was at work when it happened. She called him from home saying she got a sudden splitting headache that was getting worse and worse over the last 2 or 3 minutes. She was terrified. Then thud, silence, she was gone. A brain surgeon told me that brain surgeons are normally not as well paid as you think, and anesthesiologists tend to be much more likely to be using prescription drugs. Your asshole can stretch up to 8 inches without permanent damage and a raccoon can fit in a 4-inch hole. Fuck yeah. 2 raccoons. Anne Frank's diary had lots of masturbation that later got cut out. Considering that she was a teenager when she wrote those entries, this fact itself is really not that disturbing. In a way it makes her seem a bit more relatable. Just a regular teen going through puberty thinking about things that most teens are interested in. As dead bodies decay, they burp or release gases. For this reason, caskets and mausoleums need to be ventilated so that the gas can escape. Exploding caskets were a real thing. Those that didn't have air holes. Have heard a person is something like 30 trillion human cells and 40 trillion bacteria. So you're something of a minority of your own self. No E. coli, I'm not spitting on them. You can't make me do it. You are nothing but a sentient spaceship sent out to mine the universe for sugars.